I think that is such a big thing that most people don't really like. Money doesn't make you happy. I'm like, well, money gives you options and freedom. And
Yeah.
for me, having options and freedom and being present in my life is it gives me happiness because
Welcome back into the podcast. Excited to have you guys here. And we have an amazing guest, Taylor Freeman. He's been a part of the unit trust system for some time now, and he's had some incredible results. So I'm excited to have him on the podcast and be able to share his experience with you. Taylor, thanks for joining us here, and I'm excited to have you on. If you
thanks
don't
for
mind
having
giving
me.
us a brief
Thanks for having me, man.
introduction.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. If you don't mind, give us a little brief introduction of who Taylor is, kind of where he got his start from, and let us know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, 100%, man. So I actually grew up so I grew up playing sports pretty much my whole life, basketball, baseball, football, pretty much anything to like get me out of the house and like out of trouble. Always grew up with like a competitive nature, always wanted to be the best, always wanted to outperform what I'd done previous years, previous weeks, so on and so forth. That was one thing that I obviously wanted to have in a career to
Yeah.
where I can have some of that same type of mentality when it comes to sports and, excelling at the greatest level that you can and pushing yourself, so on and so forth. And that's how kind of how I ended up into sales and insurance, obviously, and had a bunch of odd end jobs beforehand, right? To where I was like, working at a grocery store, or like working at a tire shop, or things like that. And then obviously kind of transitioned and understood kind of where my skill set was. And I thought like, hey, talking to people, being in sales, being personable was a skill set that I kind of naturally had. And kind of diving more deep down the rabbit hole and being like, okay, how can I fine tune this skill set? Because
Yeah.
I read a book one time with John Maxwell. He said people don't pay for good, they pay for great. And so you
Absolutely.
identify what your skill set is and you become an absolute master in that. And what you're not good
Mm.
at, you then delegate, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of how the circle has come full, or how everything's come full circle for me for sure.
That's so good, Taylor. So, obviously, you started in sports, but built that mentality through the sports mindset. How do you feel like that's been able to help your success along your journey of just like being able to ingrain that from an early age?
Yeah, I think it's a huge part of my upbringing because like because I was like an only child growing up.
Okay.
So I was the only child. So I didn't have like the ability to my girlfriend always says like you don't share with anybody.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a situation where I was forced to make friends, right? Because I was the only child. My parents were older when they had me. Specifically my dad was a lot older when he had me. So his friends weren't very young. So it was like I had to make friends with a lot of people, and a lot of that came from sports. And I think obviously sports teach you about leadership, about being able to communicate with other people, about being, working hard. Like your
Yeah.
spot will get taken if you do not work hard and you take your talent for granted. And so I think all those things couple are it's just really a mindset. And,
Mm.
I think if you understand like what sports is teaching you as you're going through this, and like we connect the dots looking back, not looking forward, right? So that's kind of how I've connected the dots, and I've seen that those things have played a huge part into me being accountable, having certain disciplines in my life, and really being able to lock into a process and fine tune that process as things go on. So it's played a huge part.
Well, it's good. I love that quote that you just said. It's you don't connect the dots looking forward, you connect the dots looking back. That's haven't heard that one before. That's great. So looking back at your journey, you had mentioned that you went from, what was it, working in a grocery store?
Dude, yeah, it was my first job was at Sam's Club. I
Sam's
was like ripping tires, like doing the whole tire deal, and then it was grocery stores, and then finally got into sales. So yeah.
How'd you find your way into sales? Like, what was that transition like for you? And what was obviously there's probably a ton of people watching this, looking at like, maybe coming from a 9 to 5 job, coming into insurance or coming into sales in general. What was that thing that kind of like stuck out to you and was like, hey, like this is like the sign I need to be able to do this?
Dude, well, it was actually funny because I had got a job at like it was like this weird job at like a tech company. It was like a startup tech company. I literally got fired like 30 days later. I was a terrible employee. And what happened for me was like, dude, I need a job like fast. So I'm
Yeah.
like in the sauna and I'm like talking to this dude. And he's like, and he was a cool guy. And he was like, dude, I do sales, like I do X, Y, and Z. And he's like, I'm like, bro, I literally just got fired. Like, and he's like, dude, you have really good people skills. Like, send me your resume. Like, send it over to this email. And I had to like make up. So I never had like a resume before. So like, had to,
Yeah.
make a resume before ChatGPT could like help you out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I like sent it over to him, and then he got me in touch with the hiring director, and then hired me from there. So that's kind of how I got into sales. It wasn't like I saw like a reel on Instagram or anything like that. It was literally just like dude in the sauna. He was cool. I was cool. we connected and then sent my resume over. He liked me and, put a good word in for me for his hiring manager. So that was my first, step into sales for sure.
Wow, that's awesome. So, I'm noticing a trend here is that you're really have good people skills. You're talking to people. You're kind of just like inside of your normal day life, just opening up, communicating with people. And I think that's a very strong skill set. When looking at that, how do you think that's been able to help, just not where you're currently at, but just help in life, being able to just go and be friendly in that way?
Sure. I just think, people want to do business with people that they like. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and as long as you're a cool person, you make somebody else feel good, like, they're like, dude, I'd help this guy out. And it might not always work like that. Like, there are certain situations where you're just talking or being nice and nothing comes of it. Who cares? You know what I mean? But I live, for example, in Seattle, and like, we're surrounded by like, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, and it's like the polar opposite. Like, you get in the elevator and somebody like doesn't, they don't know how to communicate. Like, they're behind a desk all day. They're like, doing computer stuff and like, all that. And they have no idea how to actually speak to another human being and not make it a weird interaction. And
Mm,
so, I kind of see the polar opposite, and I'm like, I never want to turn into that person. If I see someone in the elevator, I'm saying hi, you know what I mean? Or
yeah.
whatever the case may be, just being a decent human being, and those inevitably will open doors later on down the road. Might not, a seed that you plant now might not harvest for, a handful of months, handful of years, but, you're just planting seeds as time goes on, and eventually something's going to pop from it.
That's so good. Planting seeds and just being able to let the fruits grow. That's great. So tell me, Taylor, a little bit about so you got into sales, and then along that journey, where did you end up finding yourself into the insurance space?
Yeah, man. So I actually had a buddy of mine. I was Thanksgiving like 3 years ago. I was sitting on Thanksgiving, and he had like literally made like 50 or $60,000 in a month, and I was like,
Wow.
"What? Like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous." So I like sent him a message. I'm like, "Bro, like, what are you like?" And then he was like traveling and stuff like that, so he couldn't like get back to me, and I was like, "Bro, like, put me on. Like, what's going on?" And then so yeah, he ended up putting me on, and that's kind of how I started my career in insurance. It was just pure curiosity. And I was like, dude, I don't want to be just a regular person just making regular money. I feel like my skill set, I can be able to push myself and to get to where I need to get to when it comes to making that type of money. And I was like, this guy's no better than me. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. So that's kind of my mentality.
Yeah, that's so good. So getting into insurance, tell us a little bit about that, like starting experience, what type of company you were with, and what that first like progression into insurance was like coming from, maybe that normal sales job into insurance.
Yeah. So my first job in insurance, I guess my first gateway to insurance was a captive company. I won't like name
Okay.
specific companies, but like I was at a captive company. Essentially what that means, you sell one product for one company. You don't have really diversification amongst products. And then, obviously leads are given to you for free, right? And so
Okay.
the trade-off to that is a lower compensation or lower commission structure on the trade-off of you're not paying for leads, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my natural first progression into insurance because most people don't come into this with a whole lot of money. Some do, right? But most people don't come in with a whole lot of money. They come in with a dream and a hope and a belief, and hey, maybe this thing's going to shake out, maybe it won't, right? So
Yeah.
that was what I came in with. I didn't have a whole bunch of money really, so I came into that very quickly. It was probably about a year into it. I was like, I don't necessarily seeing this be super scalable
Okay.
because I was always dependent on somebody else giving me leads, right? And like at the end of the day, you get what you pay for. And if you're not paying for anything, you're probably not getting too much in return.
Yeah.
And so that's what I saw, and I was like, I don't know how scalable this can be. And like for somebody that apparently from what they were telling me, like, hey, you have a great, really good skill set, you're very talented. I'm like, if it's this tough for me to make money at the talent level that I'm at, I can't imagine me building a team and building an agency, which is the ultimate goal is to build an agency to where you can be more on the operational side of the business as opposed to the
Yeah.
day-to-day sales side of it. And I was like, dude, if it's tough for me, how the heck am I going to bring in 20, 30, 40 reps and show them and I can't even get the leads that I need for me as a quote unquote manager.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I saw the breaking point. The systems were great. The training was really great. But again, there was a lack of scalability in my mind because of the leads, right?
Gotcha.
And then ended up transitioning to a broker model, like a traditional brokerage where like you have obviously multiple different companies and that you can sell through and you have multiple different lead vendors. So like you'll get in the company, they'll be like, hey, we have like these 10 different lead vendors, like pick one, like hopefully it works. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, are there like KPIs on this? Like, what are the closing percentages on this? Like what does that look like? We
Yeah.
don't have any data. Just like, try it out and see if it works. If it doesn't, like go to the next lead vendor. And I'm like, dude, these are,
Oof.
and I'm coming in and they're like, yep, just drop $1,000. I'm like, at the time, like $1,000 in a week was just insane to like fathom. You know what I mean? Now
Yeah.
looking back, it's like it's not that big of a deal. But at the end of the day, it was just like it was the polar opposite of what I was saying, right? So before
Yeah.
the capital company had great systems and training, but no leads. Now all of a sudden you have all this autonomy and freedom, but you have no training systems or KPIs. So it's like, how do I track
Mm.
my metrics? How do I track my data? How do I understand if I'm profitable or not? Like, how can I get more profitable? Like, what does that look like? Do we have daily trainings? Like, so it was like the polar opposite, where it's like all this freedom now, but there's no structure, and there has to be somewhere in the middle. And I think that's where people really succeed, is somewhere in the middle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, kind of looking back at it between the two, right? When you look at, kind of more management, more corporate structure, hey, we're going to help you out compared to just the wild, wild west in a sense. Um, it at the end of the day, it comes down to like profitability of it. In each model, like which one were you actually like more profitable with, even though it was kind of like two polar opposites compared to, free leads, but now you have to pay for leads and, differences in that sense.
I would say it was about the same. I would say it was about the same. Like on the first company, the front end didn't look that good, but like you were mitigating costs because of no less leads. The second one was about the same because like you were making a lot more money up front, but then like there was a whole bunch of stuff on the back end. You have these shoppers, like people who are, clicking on Facebook lead forms. They're clicking on like three, four, five, six, seven different ones, right? So like
Wow.
when you sell them, you got seven agents coming behind you trying to take your deal from you, right? And so a lot of people aren't as profitable as the colors and the little flyers look like on Instagram,
Yeah.
right? That's where I was at when I ended up like coming to Unitrust, because I was like, dude, they're like, this is my last stop, dude. Like if this Unitrust thing doesn't work, dude, I'm out of the insurance game. Peace out. I'll go find something else, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And right away, like the things that they didn't shy away from were things that I was kind of attracted. Like they didn't shy away from talking about placement. They didn't shy away from talking about persistency. They didn't shy away from talking about profitability.
Yeah.
They didn't shy away from talking about scaling your business and like reinvesting back into your business and kind of giving you a blueprint on like what that looks like every step of the way. And so those are things that were like polar opposite than what I've seen before. Like nobody ever talked about like tracking, contact rate, book rate, close rate, and show rate. Like nobody ever talked about those different aspects of it. So I'm like, okay, this makes sense because in every other business, they're tracking data. Like, do you think
Yeah.
Microsoft is just like going off vibes? Like
No.
Amazon's just like going off vibes? Like, no, they have like
No.
quarterly reporting, right? Profit loss statements, right? They're really figuring out how they can optimize their business without wasting a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
And it was the first time in the insurance business where I'm like, oh, they're treating it like a legitimate business.
Yeah.
Like who would have thought like a multi-trillion-dollar industry is treating it like an actual business, right?
Yep.
And so that was kind of the differentiator that I saw coming over here.
That's good. Okay, I want to break down a couple of terminology for the people that are listening here. So when you talk about placement, like what does that mean for insurance?
Yeah, great question. So placement is essentially like, let's say I sell Jane Doe a policy,
Yep.
and that policy gets issued and paid, and stays on for the first 45 days. Because for the audience, what essentially there's things in the insurance business called chargebacks, meaning that you could sell a policy, that person cancels that policy, you owe that commission back. And again, nobody
Yep.
wants to talk about that. So we track placement, and what that means is like 90% of your chargebacks come in the first 45 days. It's called buyer's remorse, right? Just like any other thing, right? You get some on Amazon, you're probably not going to return it 6 months later. You're going to return it like 2, 3 days after you got it,
Yeah.
right? And so we track placement very, very seriously because that's a direct correlation of what your persistency will be over 7 months, over 9 months, and over 13 months is your placement rate.
Yeah.
And this was the company was the first time I heard placement was a big deal. I'm like, I never heard of that. And yeah, placement corresponds. You look at your placement, and your persistency is not far behind.
Yeah.
And so that's what placement is making sure that, versus if you have low placement, that means you're just kind of like not doing very thorough underwriting. You might like submit a policy, it gets declined. You submit her somewhere else, it gets declined. You submit her somewhere else, she finally gets approved. Well, now you submitted that person to four different places with one approval. That's a 25% placement because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One divided by four.
Absolutely. Now, how does Unitrust help with the placement? Like, what do they do? How do they support you? Because I know that Unitrust is a pretty tech forward company in the insurance space.
Yeah, so we have systems and processes. Like we have a dashboard that like really tracks all that, like versus like what you've submitted versus what's been issue paid versus like your placement rate, your 13-month rolling persistency, 90-day rolling persistency. So all those things are tracked at literally the front of your dashboard. So it's kind of like a big neon sign that like if you need to course correct, you're looking at these numbers every single day and you're like, okay, cool. Well, if I need to course correct, I can see it as
Yeah.
opposed to me just like putting my head in the sand and hoping it gets better, right,
Yeah.
that never usually happens. So I think the biggest thing is them just being able to track it, and then the systems is being able to talk about these things, right. Again, I was in the insurance business for like 2 years and never even heard the word placement before,
Yeah.
right. So like the aggressiveness on talking about these things inevitably makes agents and agency owners here pay attention to said
Mhm.
things, right? Because it's at the forefront of their mind. Every meeting we're talking about placement, we're talking about persistency, making sure you're keeping the business that you're writing. And so those things are in the forefront of our brain as we're operating on our day-to-day basis, right? And that means
Absolutely.
it comes back down like, hey, we're doing more thorough underwriting because we know on, the next morning they're going to be talking about placement, right? So we're
Yep.
going to make sure our underwriting's a little bit more. We're going to ask some more in-depth questions to make sure we get them on the right path and things like that. So hopefully that answered your question on that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great definition and example of that. And with using placement, and diving into a little bit about like your team, kind of where you're at within the your system and everything.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit, like how big is your team? Like how many people are you helping, and where are they kind of at in the process, as far as becoming profitable and having like that life changing income.
Yeah, great question. Yeah. So honestly, I didn't really start recruiting till probably about 3 to 4 months ago. The
Okay.
reason being is because I was like burned from a couple of the companies. And so I don't want to say burned. I would just say like I didn't feel like the process was duplicatable. And so therefore I didn't morally feel like I was putting people in a good position by
Yeah.
recruiting them onto my team. I didn't feel like, telling them this whole ordeal and like selling them on the dream and then them getting there and be like, dude, Taylor, this is literally nothing that you told me was going to be. Like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so for me, I didn't feel very comfortable doing that. So to answer your question, I just started probably recruiting like 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, like even seeing like my small team of like, 10, 15 people, like their profitability are off the jump and like their average monthly APV and like seeing them be able to have like, time with their kids. Like we have a couple, I have one, lady on my team, she's a single mom, and like seeing her be able to like pop in and like pop out and like be profitable on the days that she works because she has a kid, right?
Yeah.
And seeing my girlfriend become profitable and being able to make more money than she's ever made, that's really cool. One of my buddies, who was able to clear, 50, like $45,000 in commission a month, like that was cool. Like so, seeing these different things happen in real time, it's given me more confidence in the system that I don't have to be the master
Yeah.
and be able to be the big time trainer or the guru who's driving around in a Lambo to get people to come. Like, dude, if I just plug people in the system, either they're going to get it or they're not.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't feel bad because I'm putting them in the best position possible to succeed. Like, if they don't
Mm.
succeed at this, like, I don't know, you might be cooked. You know what I mean? Like that's my mentality. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so, yeah, I think, did that answer your question? I think you had a follow up question on that too, as well.
Yeah, no, that was great. As far as that, how important is it to find like that right mentorship when, building a team or joining a team?
Extremely important. Extremely important because everything rises and falls on leadership, and I think from the top down, the leadership, like from the CEOs to like the vice president of sales, the marketing, to like all those, like the corporate positions, like
Yeah.
everything flows down from there. And I think mentorship is really important, obviously, because like you can't go to where, so like if you're mentoring me, like I can't go to somewhere where you've never been.
Yeah.
And so having a mentor who's willing to be in the trenches, be in the fight, being able to understand what you're going through on a day-to-day basis is super important. And we have mentors at our every different stage of, some are high-level producers still in the field. There's like a Josh Crisp who's, has a huge agency. So now I'm being mentored on him on how to grow an agency, where I
Yeah.
went from like when I first got in, it was like, dude, how do I sell deals? And then it evolved to like, okay, I got a couple people on my team, like how do I mentor them? And then now it's like has a $2, $3, $4 million a month agency, and I'm like, okay, dude, how do I get to that? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like he's gone three, he's always 3, 4 steps ahead of me, which is so awesome. And I don't look at that like, dang, Josh leave me behind. I look at it like, dude, that's awesome, inspiring. It shows that if he can do it, I can do it as well. And so mentorship is super important. Like, dude, if you have a mentor who's just like slothful, like puts you on, sells you the dream, you never see him on Zoom, you never see him ripping deals, you never see him recruiting and growing his agency. It's only a certain amount of time before you call BS
Yeah.
on what he's telling you on a daily basis. And inevitably you're either going to find another mentor in that company or you're going to find a mentor outside of that company who's actually speaking the same language of what you want to learn.
Yeah, that's so good. When when someone is looking for mentorship, and oftentimes a lot of people that are watching this are looking for that type of mentorship, what does that look like with you? If someone was to come in and be like, "Hey, Taylor, I want help. How can I get similar results?" Like from, the first like 90-ish days, what does that look like from you?
Yeah, I just tell people follow me around the entire time. Like I'm on Zoom, I'm accessible. Like, if and here's the thing, like as long as you create the right expectations, like that's I'm
Mm.
big on creating the right expectations. As long as I've created the right expectations and
Yeah.
reiterated those expectations to you, at that point it is on you. Right?
Yeah.
Because again, we're 1099. We're this is a volunteer army, right? We're full commission, eat what you kill. Right.
Yep.
And so you have to be an individual. I can tell you, hey, I'm on Zoom at 7 a.m. every single day. I'm doing X and Y and Z. Like you'll be able to pop in, ask me questions. I'm available. But at the end of the day, you got to be motivated and disciplined enough to do it yourself. Like,
Yeah.
are you waking up, going to the gym? You know what I mean? Are you reading? Like, are you meditating and praying in the morning? Like, are you getting your mind right to get on the phones? Like these things that I'm telling people, these are things that I do.
Yeah.
Right. So I tell people like, dude, if you want the same results as me, you could just literally copy what I'm doing. And some will, some won't, so what, right? But the people who will, I see them on Zoom every single day. They're asking questions. They're trying to get everything, the ball rolling on everything, and they're very proactive. And so my approach is like I'm trying to make people self-sufficient as
Yeah.
soon as I absolutely possibly can. And that's what I tell people. Like I don't want you having to be like I don't want you to have for me to babysit you. You don't want that either. Like you want to
Yeah.
be in a position where I'm equipping you to give you the right tools and information for you to be self-sufficient as humanly possible as fast as possible. Because
Mhm.
that's where stuff gets fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's so good. Looking at that process of mentorship and thinking about like success habits, what are some habits? You talked about going to the gym, reading books, meditation, prayer. But what are some specific habits if someone is looking at maybe their day to day and going like, I don't really know where to start? Where would you suggest them to start with building those successful habits to where when they are coming onto a team like yours, that they're actually in a better position than maybe they are right now?
Yeah, sure. I think just, it's crazy that there's books on success and they're like $10. They're like $10 to like learn from like an Earl Nightingale or like or a Jim Rohn or some of these high level successful entrepreneurs and people. There's podcasts that are free on Apple Music and Spotify and all these different things. And it's like, dude, these are free information, and you can literally just type in like whatever successful person that you want to type, whether it's an athlete or whether it's a entrepreneur, whatever the case may be. And there's so much free game out there. And
Yeah,
they'll tell you, you'll find correlations between what all these, you take 5 super successful people, you listen to each one of their podcasts, and you'll see a similarity very, very soon. A lot of them are in shape. A lot of them eat very well. A lot of them don't party a whole bunch. A lot of them don't like smoke and drink a bunch. Like a
yeah,
lot of them are on point when it comes to certain disciplines and consistencies that they have in life. A lot of them are very family oriented, faith oriented. So if you kind of group all those things together, you feel like, okay, well, if I need all those things in place for me to become successful, if I need a good faith walk, if I need a good emotional walk, if I need a good if I need a good personal development walk, uh, um, a physical activity walk. If I know I need those things to become successful, well, now you just group them into what's going to work for you. For
yeah,
some people, waking up at 4:30 a.m., awesome. They can go hit the gym, be a dog. For some people, they need to hit the gym at like midday, in between, like
yeah,
running their day, break up their day a little bit. So whatever works for that individual, as long as you're consistent doing it,
mm,
because the more consistent that you are with something, the more you're putting deposits in the bank account of success. Like
yeah,
the more you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you do it, you start having more confidence in yourself. Adversely, the more you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you don't follow through, you're taking withdrawals from that bank account, and now
yeah.
you're losing self trust within yourself.
That's so good. That it kind of takes me back to I've talked to a couple people this week that they're getting started, they're kind of getting into it, and then they have that self-doubt, self-belief in actually like taking that step even after they took that first step, but it's like that step 1A, step 1B type deal. Um, when looking at someone that is, maybe they've taken a little bit of action, do you have any like maybe words of encouragement or anything that maybe some life advice that you might have for someone that's kind of in that step like 1A position on where maybe they've taken that initial, but then they have like that self-doubt that creeps in? Do you have any words for them?
Yeah, I don't think the self-doubt ever goes away. Like there's gonna be self-doubt every step of the way. Like when you first get going, your self-doubt
Yeah.
is, can I do this? Then when you get going, it's like, can I sustain this? And then when you've created massive success, it's like, am I worthy of creating this success? Like I got all this money in the bank. Like, am I worthy of this? And then there's like
Mhm.
imposter syndrome. So like the self-doubt never goes away. So like hopefully that's encouragement to them. Like
Yeah.
this is not normal. Like it's not just gonna all of a sudden go away and you're gonna have full confidence in yourself. However, to offset that, it's consistency. It's going all in. It's burning the bridges, right? Like
Yeah.
when people come into the business, they're like, dude, I'm gonna do this part time, and then once I replace my income, I'm gonna go full time. I'm like, dude, you're never gonna replace your income going part time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you got to go full time and act like there's nothing else that you possibly could ever do for a career, and that's the only way it's gonna work. And then through trial and error, you're gonna be forced to be in a position where you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And when human beings are in a position where they have to figure it out, 9 times out of 10 they actually do, right? It's like survival
Mm.
of the fittest. You know what I mean? And so my encouragement is just continue going. If you have good habits right now and everything is going good and you're doing and you're keeping the promises that you make to yourself consistently, it's just not the results aren't quite there yet. We'll just
Yeah.
keep going. Like you got to just keep going. You're good.
That's great. I appreciate that. I'd love to know a little bit about like your lifestyle. Going from Sam's Club to working in tires to doing, some beginning in sales jobs. What's that lifestyle change look like since being in insurance, then specifically with Unitrust? I mean, you've had a great run of it so far, and I know that you're, a very quickly growing team with success. What are some of those lifestyle changes that you're having?
Yeah. As far as like ways I've just seen my life just overall change, like comparatively to where I was before, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah. Like, are you any type of like, nicer dinners, any vacations, things that you're able to do that maybe you couldn't do before, maybe that you couldn't even think that you could do now?
Yeah, man, 100%. I mean, life is just totally different. Like, I remember when I was starting out, I was like in this 500 square foot, like studio apartment, and like that was a struggle to keep that rent going every single month. And then, like, to me, having this car, I had this car that would like, it was like prone to accidents, bro. Like, it's like every time I get out of the shop, boom, somebody would hit me, and then, another $1,000, and I was like
Yeah.
barely holding on for dear life. And so, you know, life is just totally different. Like, when you don't have to like look at your bank account when you like make a purchase, or like you can go to like a nice 5-star restaurant, take your girl out there and like have a good time and enjoy the joy being in the present without worrying about finances. Like, and I think that is such a big thing that most people don't really like. Money doesn't make you happy. I'm like, well, money gives you options and freedom. And
Yeah.
for me, having options and freedom and being present in my life is it gives me happiness because those same people they'll work 50, 60 hours a week. They hardly make any money. They go, well, money doesn't make you happy. I'm like, well, dude, how would you know? All you do is spend time making money or trying to make money. So
Yeah.
why don't we figure that process out, build a skill set, character traits and beliefs that are going to, increase your income. So now you're not worried about that,
Yeah.
and like I said, life is just crazy. Like I can take trips when I want to go and do this and I don't have to look at the bank account, which is the biggest thing. But I also think that also came from a lot of discipline. Like,
Mm.
you know, uh, Unitrust, this whole, I've been here a year and 4 months now.
Okay.
That first year, like I lived below my means, severely below my means, because I remember what it was like to be broke. And so when you start making 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month, like I was like, I'm not gonna go buy a S class, right? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I'm not gonna go buy a new house. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm gonna live like I was still making 10 grand a month. I'm gonna save up a bunch of money. And now that cushion has given me so much opportunity to like have different investment portfolios going and like money working for you and like be able to understand certain things as far as like that they don't really teach you in the insurance industry. Like nobody's going to teach you about how to set up an LLC and like how to have a corporate veil and do all these different things. And nobody's going to teach you how to have your finances straight and like budget correctly and have investment products that you understand. And so a
Yeah.
lot of these people in the insurance industry are very cash rich, but they're financially illiterate, to be honest. And they're spending their money on a whole bunch of stuff that is not going to bring them real wealth. And that's why a lot of times you'll see like they look rich on Instagram, but you look 5, 10 years down the road and they have not built any significant wealth because they don't understand how finances go. And so
Mm,
I think having an over and abundance of money
yeah.
coupled with severe extreme discipline as far as living below your means creates a cushion in your life to where now you can actually start understanding how to build real wealth with this cash flow you have coming in. So it's been incredible for sure. It's been a learning curve, definitely, but it's been awesome.
That's great, Taylor. So, I mean, dude, where you've come, where you're at now, like complete life change, and also being able to help others do that at the same time. What does the future look like for you in the next, like, 1 to 2 years, or even past that? Like, what are some of the goals that you're looking to go after?
Yeah, man, the biggest goals, man, are just continuing to explode this agency, man. Like that's really gonna be my biggest focus in 2026. Like I proved proof of concept over a year, was able to be top 10 in the company as far as like personal production. Got a sizable, like a good team, like even though we're a smaller team, that these guys are pumping, which is
Yeah,
awesome. So now it's time to take it to the next level, be able to invest in more recruiting services, be able to invest like I invest in leads, invest into the business building aspect of it, and it's another challenge to where like I'm excited to be able to understand a different skill set that's going to be take that I'm going to need to take up to be able to build this agency, be able to help develop and motivate people, and just take it as big as I possibly can take it. Like by next year I want to be at $1 million a month in agency volume,
yeah,
and continue just blowing it up after that. And really the biggest serendipity of the whole thing is to be able to help other people get the results that they want. Like I want to be able to help those people not just get the results that they want, but also tell them all the things that were not told to me when I first got going. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, dude, how do taxes work? Like, dude, how do you set up LLC? Like, dude, how do you financially like invest the correct way? Like, how like all those things I was just referring to, like I just learned about this past year. Like, dude,
yeah,
that's 3 years in the making. Like, it's been 3 years I didn't know how to do any of that stuff, and I'm catching up now. And so I'm like, think about the impact that I may be able to have when I actually know what I'm talking about, and I can point people in the right direction and get them actually financially secure and financially free. So I think
yeah.
that's gonna be the coolest part of how this whole thing works and the biggest serendipity of it.
That's so good, Taylor. So, if anyone's still watching this, which at this point in time, you're obviously you're somewhat interested in Taylor and his business and being able to potentially learn more. If someone is that interested, how can they be able to get a hold of you and have that initial conversation?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Taylor Freeman 02, Taylor Freeman first last name 02. You can text me. My number is 206-402-1059. You can shoot me a text if you're serious as well. And we can hop on a quick text, we can hop on a call, and kind of go over and see if it's a good fit, and really get a chance to know each other. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing before you get into business. You want to know who it is that you're dealing with. You want to see if it's a good fit, and then if it does make sense and we click on the first call, we might book a second call, kind of get into some more details and see what individuals' goals are, and kind of go from there. So yeah, if you're interested, hit me up.
That's awesome. And do you have any final words for anyone that's still watching that maybe you want to give them some encouragement?
Yeah, 100%, man. We're winding out 2025. Really take a look at these last 2 weeks, and take a moment, like, and really reflect in these last 2 weeks of like what went right in 2025, what went wrong, and really put a game plan together. Not just like a vision board, like not just hey, I want to make $1 million, like not just these like goals, but like put a plan together.
Mm,
I think the plan is you don't rise to the level of your goals and your dreams. You fall to the level of your systems and your processes. So make it a New Year's resolution, if you will, to have new processes and systems that are non-negotiables in your life. And then those goals that you have are going to be natural byproducts of those goals. So kind of figure out where you're at and course correct as far as that's concerned. That'd be my
that's
opinion.
great. Taylor, thank you so much, and I appreciate you guys all watching. And if you're still here and you're interested in more, feel free and watch that next video. And you're just going to be able to continue to learn. And I'm going to drop all of Taylor's information in the comments here. That way, it's easy to get access to him and be able to learn more about how to join his amazing success that's coming for him. So, Taylor, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm excited to follow up with you in the next year and be able to see all the successes that are coming to you in your business, man.
Dude, absolutely, man. Jared, I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you taking the time, my guy.
Absolutely.